Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beaton, joined by the Fantasy Master Lothario himself, Gray Albright. How's it going over there, Gray?
Good, man. Good. I'm sending peace and love out to Razzball Nation. I've become I'm drinking my silver colloid and sending peace and love. I've become a hippie, man. I'm a hippie. I'm a hippie. I love everyone.
Is this an attempt to try and keep your players healthy, Gray? Is that what this is?
Yeah, man. I even love David Bell, man. I love everyone. I love them all. I love MLB managers and players alike, bro. Just doing love. That's all.
That's nice. It's nice that you're trying to love everybody. There's one person that we're really going to test your bounds with, and he's been testing our bounds for. I mean, it feels like as long as I've been watching baseball, he's been testing us, Gray. That's Angel Hernandez. He's been. He's always been bad, but like it got to a new level where he was historically bad, Gray. He's literally missed like the most recorded amount of space that you can miss calls by ever in a baseball game. And I'm sure he held the previous record, but like it's happening again. Like, can we get him to can we put him in a booth? I mean, he can't be worse at that than he is on the game, like calls, right?
Can I interject some peace and love here towards Angel Hernandez? I see this maybe because I'm seeing everything through rose-colored glasses, but right now I'm seeing this as Angel Hernandez is trying to do us all a favor by speeding up the next step in the evolution of baseball, where we have robots on the field calling balls and strikes. Maybe Angel is doing us a solid here, Beaton. Maybe by doing a solid, as in a poop behind home plate, he's actually doing us a solid by bringing us robot umpires. Would they be Robo Umps or Robo Umps, Robot Umps, or Robot Umpires? How would you classify them?
That's a good question, Gray. I think I would have to think about it. I think there's got to be a shorter name, like Rumps. Is Rumps taken, Gray?
Are you Rumps? Rumps. Yes. And then we can have throwing out the first pitch on opening day for the season when robot umpires are fully instituted. We could have my lady Humps throw out the first pitch. Our sweet Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. My humps, my little lady Rumps. Here come the Rumps, everyone.
Yep, we could be there sooner than later, Gray, with the way Angel's going. I mean, he's literally going to cost like the future of umpiring. Like, he wants it to end with him. He wants to be the last umpire in baseball. Nobody else but him is allowed to do it.
I'm thinking about the reunion of the last living umps when they finally institute the Rumps. Right, then they'll have a reunion down the road, like, in 15, 20 years, and the umps, not the Rumps, the umps will show up to have a little reunion. And how much of an outcast Angel Hernandez is going to be? He's going to stand by the punch bowl, and everyone's going to be like, I don't even want punch anymore. I'd like to punch him. He ruined it for everyone. He's gonna be sitting there. He's gonna be like, "Wow, did everyone drink beforehand? Why does no one want punch? It's good. It's good punch." And everyone's gonna be like, "I don't want to go over there because Angel Hernandez is over there." Thank you.
It's gonna be like where like an old fraternity thing where you tie a guy to a tree, but it's gonna be a bunch of old guys in like little like cars, the little scooters, just like with the ropes behind them going around a tree that Angel Hernandez is attached to now. It'll just be like, what are those old guys doing to that other old guy? It's okay. Just leave them alone. They're old. They're just doing their thing. You just let them be. It'll be okay.
He's the reason for the rumps.
And let's go ahead and move into some baseball, Gray. Let's talk about a guy who will be around to see the Rumps take over probably. And that is Jackson Holliday, who I believe is like 13 and a half years old.
He's so young. He's so young. My God. I saw a picture of Jackson Holliday the other day, and when he first got called up, like, people were interviewing him. And actually, our last podcast co-host, Ralph Lipschitz / Jeff, he was at the Red Sox game for Baseball America interviewing Jackson Holliday. So, maybe there's something in your future. maybe I won't ruin your complete future here, Beaton. But anyway, he was interviewing Jackson Holliday. Well, a lot of people were interviewing Jackson Holliday, and I saw a picture of like him, and he really looked like an 8-year-old. He looked so young.
He really does. I mean, he's 20, but he doesn't even look 20. I mean, maybe that's just us being old guys, Gray, and just shaking our fists at young people. But like he just looks very young. But he's officially been called up, Gray. He's had 4 games up. He has 1 hit. It's not the dream scenario that you would have dropped him into and home run first at bat and all that, but he's got some time. I mean, I think most people believe he's going to be perfectly fine. But where are you at on Jackson Holliday? Like, now that he's called up, rest of season, you have him ranked as a top what shortstop?
Probably top 10 to 12 shortstop. I don't have all the shortstops in front of me. So this is off the top of my head. Yeah, maybe top 12. I would probably rank him around like 100 to 120 overall in an overall type scenario. So yeah, I think that's probably 10 to 12 on the shortstops. I think in the top 100 there is probably like 12 of them. Anyway, yeah, I think if anything, there might be a small buying opportunity. Depends on, we're recording this. We should say we're recording this on Monday before his Monday game. So I don't know what he's going to do in, tonight's game. He may, go 4 for 4 with 2 homers, and this may become a moot point. But, the fact that he didn't have any hits for like the first 3 games, and then I think he got 1 hit in his 4th game, and he looked overwhelmed. I mean, I think that's a buy low scenario right there. I mean, he's not going to be overwhelmed for very long. I was shocked at the restraint that Rob Manfred showed by not giving the Red Sox a bouncy ball to throw to Jackson Holliday so he would hit a home run like in his first at bat. I'm impressed by Manfred's restraint there. I assumed Jackson Holliday was going to come up and just hit homers like immediately with the bouncy ball. Yeah, I think he's going to be totally fine. I have no worries just because he was hitless in his first 3 and only 1 for 4 in his 4th game. I'm totally fine. I think he's, give people an idea of what kind of player he is. I would say 15 homers, 10 steals, 270 average, and there's upside on all those numbers. I'm actually, speaking of like top rookies, I'm actually at this point, I'm sort of a little bit concerned about Wyatt Langford. I don't know what happened to that guy. Like, I thought he was going to come out of the gate like hitting homers like he was doing in spring training. And man, he has just been such a bore to. He's so fast too. It's like if you're not going to hit for power, at least steal some bags, bro. Do something, man. Oh, he's been really boring. But yeah, I think Jackson Holliday is going to be. Speaking of Wyatt Langford and Jackson Holliday, they could, like Jackson Holliday can be as good as Langford for fantasy this year. Like that's possible. Like we don't know, they're both rookies, so we have no idea like how each is going to look in the long run. I would say Langford's going to be better because he does have like great speed and bigger power than Jackson Holliday and should hit for a good average too. Like Wyatt Langford, I would think is going to be a better fantasy person in long term. For this year, it's kind of a toss up. Like until we see something more from Langford, Langford should be better. Will he be better? I don't know. But Jackson Holliday is interesting. He's kind of like, it'll be interesting to see if he really runs a lot in the majors and how well he does this, his first year. Since he's so young, like he doesn't only look like he's 12 years old, he actually is 12 years old. I mean, he's super young. So there is a chance that he is just kind of overwhelmed this first year and ends up getting sent down. Like that's a possibility too. Like, things happen. I've said this comparison a lot over the years, but like Mike Trout wasn't great his rookie year. Like things do happen. So, I wouldn't count out, the possibility that Jackson Holliday just isn't that good in 2024 or Wyatt Langford for that matter. Like, things happen with rookies where, they're a lot riskier than vets that we've seen for many years or whatever. But yeah, I still like him. I still like Jackson Holliday a lot. I think he should be fine. Hopefully, knock on wood. I think he's he's super talented. He's got a great eye. So far we haven't really seen any of that. Like he's been definitely overmatched early on, but it's still early.
Yeah, very early for both of them. I mean, I would trade for Wyatt Langford if people think it's just not his year and he's going to be done. He's still hitting. He's not striking out. He's taking walks. The home runs will come. The stolen bases, there was always a little concern. Just Texas doesn't really run as much as most other teams did last year. So there's a little concern that the stolen base number won't be just gaudy for Langford, but I fully believe he's going to be fine. And Jackson Holliday, same thing. It's been 4 games. He's going to be fine. I would, again, if somebody wants to trade him away, I would take him. I'm not really worried about it. And as far as ranking him against shortstops, Gray, I'm looking at my rankings 1 through 9. I think is pretty safe still. Would you take him over Nico Horner, who's struggled out of the gate?
No, I like Nico Horner. Actually, I think Nico Horner is a good buy low if his owner's starting to get panicking a little bit. And if I can judge the panic from the Razzball comments, I think people are starting to panic on Nico Horner. So yeah, I would buy low on Nico Horner. I still like him.
Yeah, I like Nico as well. How about he's down here for me. He'd be higher for you, but your boy Bo Bichette.
Come on, man, stop.
How about Xander?
I'm taking Bo Bichette over Jackson Holliday. Xander
and Dansby.
Okay. So Dansby and Bogarts are probably close to where Jackson Holliday is going to end up being this year if things go well. I would say I would probably go to the 2 vets in most instances before Jackson Holliday, but I could see Holliday being better than either of them, depending on like right now, if he's hitting 9th and he stays hitting 9th, it's going to be very hard for him to accumulate the runs and RBIs that are going to come anywhere close to like Dansby or Bogarts. So Dansby and Bogaerts over Jackson Holliday right now, but I can see them flipping. That's kind of the area I see Jackson Holliday, because I believe like Bogaerts was around barely in the top 100 for me, and Swanson similarly around like maybe 100, 110, 120 overall. So that's probably where Jackson Holliday is right now, just because he's hitting ninth. But throwing out, like, if Jackson Holliday is hitting leadoff by, May 15th and hitting well, that could change in an instant. I mean, he would be more interesting to me than Bogaerts and Swanson.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think he's going to climb as soon as he starts to hit, because Baltimore obviously wants to get that core just set in the beginning or at the top of the lineup as fast as possible. But for now, I think you're right. I think you have to lean with the vets and maybe just the consistency that you can get from those two in particular. Let's move on to another call-up. Jonathan Clase. The Mariners send Canzone to the IL. 12 games this year in AAA. Clase has 2 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 9 runs, 11 RBIs. He's hitting 311, 396, 622. He was number 6 on Itch's preseason Mariners prospect rankings list. How do you feel about Jonathan Clase?
He looks like the kind of guy who could be really valuable for fantasy. So last year in 2023, Clase had 20 homers and stole 79 bags. It's crazy. I mean, it's a lot of steals. He is insanely fast. I would say it kind of unfortunately. So the 2079 is obviously really good. He's young too. I mean, he's not old. And you mentioned his numbers for AAA this year, so he's hitting well this year as well in AAA. So he's hitting this year. He hit well last year. He looks really good, in those respects. But he did have some contact issues last year, and the projections, steamer projections at least, like Razzball steamer projections have him hitting barely 210. So if he's not able to make contact, as the old adage goes, you can't steal first. So if he can't make contact, it's going to be very difficult to be totally excited for him in mixed leagues. Now, I will say though, like his first 12 games in AAA this year, he was already making way better contact. So his strikeout rate was down to 22.6%. So the fact that he was making better contact already this year, he's now been called up. Canzone is out for I don't know how long. I think he's got a shoulder issue. I think he ran into a fence. I believe. Desperado, why do you keep chasing fences? Anyway, I think Clase is like a guy who I'm really interested in, like even in mixed leagues, because of the speed plays everywhere. So I even grabbed him in our RCL league, because if he can come up and if he can get on base, he's absolutely going to be able to steal. Like that's not going to be an issue at all. So he's the kind of guy who could steal like 15 bags in a month. Like it's possible. I don't know if he's going to be able to get on base enough. So I feel like he's worth a pickup just to see if he can get on base and show the plate discipline difference from last year to this year. If he continues it, in his renewed better contact this year, if he can keep that going in the majors, he could be like one of the biggest call-ups of the year, potentially, because his speed is insane.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of stolen bases that he had last year is pretty absurd. So somebody that could make a impact in our game, and he's always taking walks. So even if the contact isn't great right out of the bat, if he can just get on base, he can get the steals that you're picking him up for. In an RCL type of league, if he can't get some hits to begin with, then it may be a situation where you have to drop him if you don't necessarily need that speed. But in most leagues that are deeper than that, you're going to find, room for somebody that can put up the amount of stolen bases that he can. Like you said, 15 in a month is perfectly within his capability if he gets on base. Moving over to Chicago, where the White Sox have called up Nick Nastrini. This year, he's only had one start, 7 innings, 13 Ks, 3 walks. Not a great start overall, but number 5 on Itch's preseason list, and always been a high strikeout guy.
And also insanely dreamy. I mean, this guy is like, this guy is crazy. This guy's crazy good looking. Hey, straight. Hey, I'm straight, but this guy's like ridiculous. It's like ridiculous, bro. I'm starting to think actually. So he brings up an interesting point because like his call up and his handsomeness, right? So this brings up an interesting dilemma for me because I'm starting to think that the White Sox aren't concerned about winning, but they're like, if you look at like so far, the White Sox have been known this season for campfire milkshakes and calling up this really handsome guy. So if they're just trying to distract us from the product on the field, I'm on to you, White Sox. I know what you're doing. Yeah. So, he looks like a mess. He doesn't look great. He doesn't look great on paper. As far as his command go, his command is a little bit of a mess. So like if the command is going to be as bad as it was in the minor leagues, and he had a 2.14 whip in AAA. So it's not great. But his strikeouts are really good in AAA even. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of interested in watching him because he's so freaking handsome. No, I'm interested in watching him because of the strikeouts could play. But I mean, at best, he's gonna be like a deep mixed league guy or AL only, probably at best. I would think at this point AL only. And maybe he'll get onto mixed league radars if his strikeouts are just so insane and you can't deny it. But I think the command is going to be just such a mess that I feel like he's probably not going to be on mixed league radars.
Yeah, it seems like he really needs to get that under control. He's had 2 starts this year. He's gone 3 innings and 4 innings, respectively, in them. So there also may be some innings limitations or, as he's kind of building up for the season. We'll see what happens there. I think it's interesting enough that you grab him in most leagues just to see if he just happens to hit the ground running and just, guys that are first time through the league can get some very nice results at times, but I would be throwing him his first start if you can avoid it. Moving on to the Cubs, Alex Canario was called up, with Seiya banged up. 13 games this year. He has 2 home runs, 10 runs, 7 RBIs, 269, 377, 481, number 9 on the Itches Cubs prospect list. Canario once was very high on that list, but has lost a little bit of shine in recent years. Gray, what do you expect from Mr. Canario here?
Yeah, so he's less interesting to me as of like right now because I don't know. Like, so I think as of the recording of this, I think Suzuki is injured to the point of needing an IL stint, but we don't even know that as of the recording of this. Like it could be a different injury. Canario might be only called up for like, a day or two. We have no idea at this point. But even if he's up for good and he has if he has an everyday job, I mean, I don't know. He looks kind of like he could have power, right? So he does. I mean, he does have power. He doesn't have like crazy speed, and he may not really hit for a good average. So, like say on a 162 game scale, even if he were to play every day, 550 at bats, you're looking at like maybe 22 homers, 7 steals, 225, maybe. And that's 550 at bats. Obviously, he's not getting 550 at bats. I don't even know how long assuming we're correct about Suzuki's, the reason why he's even getting called up, I don't even know how long Suzuki's going to be out for. He may be out for, a day. He may be out for a week. He may be out for a month. I have no idea. At this point, I don't know. So yeah, I'm not really super interested in Canario. I think he's okay. Obviously, NL only, you pick him up. In a 15-team mixed league, maybe. Depends if he comes up and he actually plays. I'm not 100% sure that's even going to be the case. We'll have to see his playing time. I'm not super sold yet for mixed leagues. So yeah, I would take it, one day at a time for right now.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen anything official saying that Suzuki's even really hurt significantly at all. So we'll see what happens here in regards to the playing time. But if you're in a deeper league where you need to start speculating on prospects, Canario, like you said, it's a worthwhile pick up in a deeper league, but in the shallow league, he's probably a little too boring to really run out to your waivers and go grab him. There's a signing grade with the White Sox. They actually brought in Tommy Pham. He should play regularly since they're starting Robbie Grossman, Andrew Benintendi, Kevin Pillar, Fletcher, Sheets. So he should play pretty regularly. Last year in 129 games, Pham had 60 home runs, 22 stolen bases, 55, 68. He had 256, 328, and 446. Is this pretty much an ad across all leagues, Gray?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I think he's, in a 12-team mixed league, I feel like he's probably going to be, anyone on the White Sox is probably going to be too boring to really, at least a hitter. Crochet is, he is what he is, I think, at this point. But as a hitter on the White Sox in that lineup, I don't know. I mean, I actually have Gavin Sheets in our RCL league, but my team's doing terrible. But even if my team was doing well, I mean, Gavin Sheets, I guess, hitting in the middle of the lineup, he has been hot. So yeah, maybe not all White Sox hitters are useless, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to have too many White Sox guys that are because the lineup is just so bad. So that's going to kill you for runs and RBIs. Tommy Pham, I mean, I don't know. He's fine. I mean, he's 15 homers, 20 steals, 255. All things being equal, that's probably rosterable even in a 12-team mixed league. But is it super exciting? It's like a fifth outfielder, I guess. And I could even see grabbing him, and then if he's cold, dropping him for a hot potato off of waivers or something, like in a shallow league at least. In a deeper league, yeah, he's totally fine. For a 15-team mixed league, yeah, I mean, in those leagues, people are starting Charlie Blackmon. So yeah, is Tommy Pham better than that? Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's move over to some guys who have been really hot this week and talk about them and see if you believe that they're going to keep it going. We did a player rater last week, so these are guys we didn't cover in there, but at least a couple of them have jumped up into that discussion of top 10 on the player rater. Colton Cowser has 14 games this year. He has 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 7 runs, 13 RBIs. He's hitting 441, 474, 971. All 4 of those home runs and 2 stolen bases came this week. Is this the start of the Colton Cowser breakout, Gray, or is this just a nice week? Enjoy it.
I finally moved Colton Cowser into my active lineup this weekend. It took me a long time because, first of all, it's a 15-team draft and hold. So I drafted Colton Cowser back in November. Actually, what's kind of funny is I drafted him in November, and then I wrote up my recap. And in my recap, my only mention of Cowser was he's probably my worst draft pick. That was what I said in the recap. So, Think dropped my brain early on in my life and then forgot to pick it up. So anyway, so Cowser, I think is he finally moved into my lineup this weekend because I finally smartened up, obviously. But also, I mean, for a while there, he was, he's sitting versus lefties, which, that's not great, but finally, he seems like he's an everyday guy, at least for now. I mean, and I can understand that because, benching him versus lefties actually kind of made sense early on. But now the way he's hitting, he's like the O's like second best hitter. And it's not a bad lineup either. I'm considering Gunnar Henderson, but maybe Cowser's actually their best hitter right now. But it's close at least. I think Cowser for me, what really interested me back in November of last year when I did that first early NFBC draft, when I took Cowser, I took him because I liked him the previous year because for the longest time, he was a top prospect. Like he looked like a 30 homer, 15 steal, 280 hitter. Like he looked like that, as of last year. And then at some point, the hype machine just moved on completely and just totally forgot about Cowser. It left him in the dust and everyone was like, oh yeah, no, there's no room for him to play. And I looked at him in November and I drafted him then because when people were saying there was no room to play, I was assuming that the Orioles were going to make room for him to play because he is really good. And, it didn't work out exactly as I imagined. I figured that they were going to trade Santander for an arm, which that never materialized. But Cowser is so good that I think he can play even if he cools off a little bit. He is a good hitter. He was not playing he was not in their plans, quote unquote, all of the preseason until spring training. But I think that was just them overlooking how good he is. He's always been good. He was good. He was a top prospect for a while. And he just didn't really have the chance to play yet. It wasn't he didn't have a great cup of coffee last year when they called him up. But I mean, not everyone does. I mean, so what? He had a bad first 26 games of his career, a bad, 61 at bats. Big deal. It's stupid. You can't judge a guy's career on his first 61 at bats in the majors. That's even why, going back to what I was saying earlier about Langford and Jackson Holliday, they could have a bad month and they still wouldn't be, quote unquote cooked. Anyway, Cowser's good. I think he's probably, at some point he's going to cool off and they may go back to the platoon where he does sit against lefties, which kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't really necessarily hate that because most times lefties just don't hit lefties as well, so it kind of makes sense to platoon them out against lefties. So I think Cowser is gonna be a guy who plays all year though, and is worthwhile in every fantasy league. He looks like the pickup of the season so far for at least in every league. That's not just deeper leagues. I think he's a pickup in the shallowest of leagues, and I believe in Colton Cowser.
Yeah, I like Cowser as well. I had him inside my top 200 preseason ranks. So, I mean, I had plenty of shares there. He's hitting, in the middle of the lineup right now. I think even if, they go to a more of a split scenario, I mean, there's no reason that it's not Cedric Mullins getting swapped out or Ryan O'Hearn or any number of guys instead of Cowser because, on top of the offense he's providing, he's also strong defensively. So I think Cowser is here to stay. And again, they're kind of putting it all together in Baltimore. And you got to think if they can get Cowser to where he's supposed to be and add him to, the Gunner, Adley, and Jackson and everything else that's happening, like they're moving in that right direction and putting all the pieces together there. So grab Colton Cowser if he's not already. Elly Cruz has started his rampage, 15 games, 4 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 15 runs, 10 RBIs, 286, 355, 607. Elly's really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna regret saying he was overrated, aren't I?
Yeah, I'm glad I was not on that boat with you.
Yeah. You know who does look terrible, who I liked, Nolan Jones.
Yeah, I like Nolan Jones too, as did a lot of people. It's all right. It's early season Colorado. Just give Colorado time to warm up. It'll be okay. I'm just gonna bank on that, Gray.
Yeah, agreed. That's that's my feeling too, kind of with Nolan Jones. Like, I'm concerned, but also Coors is still cold. Once Coors heats up, it plays like, the best park in baseball, and that can't hurt. So yeah, I am a little bit concerned though. Elly De La Cruz, on the other hand, I mean, I'm not as concerned about him, but it's easy to be like, it's easy to like look at guys who are doing really well and be like, oh, I'm not concerned on them, and look at the guys who are, struggling and being like, I'm concerned there. So, I mean, the ebbs and flows of the season will eventually, it's not like Elly De La Cruz is not going to be able to have like a 34% strikeout rate and hit 290. Like, it's not going to happen. I doubt it. I mean, the speed plays, and it's like something that I probably didn't take into consideration enough is like he can hit a grounder at a shortstop and beat it out, even on like a routine ground ball. Like, he is so fast that he can beat that out. So that's, I mean, for his BABIP and just his fantasy value in general. I don't know. Maybe I end up regretting the Elly De La Cruz hate. Hopefully O'Neal Cruz does well, and it doesn't really, it doesn't hurt me too much to avoid Elly and go O'Neal. So we'll see.
That's true. If O'Neal does well and Elly does well, you're not that far off, because that was your main building block here. But we'll see where that ends up. I mean, off the bat, Elly's done really well, but as you said, it could happen in any kind of order when guys are hitting well or not. Right now, it's Elly, but that could swap quickly, and it could be Nolan Jones crushing the ball and Elly struggling. That especially when there's high K rates involved, both in good parks. So there's going to be a little bit of a room here where they'll both go in different directions. Brice Turang has 13 games this year. He has 1 home run, 7 stolen bases, 8 runs, 7 RBIs. He's hitting 362, 392, 511. Is Brice Turang worth picking up, Gray? And is he going to be on your roster for more than just this hot streak?
Probably not. Right? I mean, he's okay, but I mean, he's mostly just a speed guy. Speed plays. If he can get 35 plus steals, which he's capable of, that's valuable. I mean, there's value to that. I think he's probably closer to like a 240 hitter, and he's currently hitting like 360 plus. So obviously there's going to be a far come down from that. And he doesn't really have power. So, 5 to 7 homers over the course of a season with 35 steals, hitting 250, 245. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not, hitting at the bottom of the lineup probably for the Brewers. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily hate Turang in a deeper league, but he feels like he's not going to be like a shallow mixed league, guy for that long.
Yeah, very specific contributor. If you need just mass quantities of stolen base, you didn't grab it in your draft room, then by all means, he could be a very useful piece for you. But that's probably it. The average I think is going to be good enough that it doesn't hurt you. I don't expect him to be a plus like he is right now at 362, but currently tied for the lead in stolen bases in the league. There's always room for a guy like that on somebody's team, even if it's not yours. So if you do have him and you don't need him, maybe look around and see who doesn't have any stolen bases yet this season. Jordan Westburg, he has 14 games, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 9 runs, 10 RBIs, 265, 345, 510. Do you believe in Jordan Westburg, Greg? Do you like him more than Brice Turang?
I do, yeah. Westburg, actually, I wrote a sleeper post on him. I liked Westburg a lot in the preseason. I have him in a bunch of leagues. I believe in him totally. Yeah, I was kind of shocked that he was going so late in drafts. He felt like an easy pick where he was going. I want to say like after 275 overall. Like he was really buried in early drafts and even later drafts. Like he was just buried. I think he's, he makes great contact, under a 20% strikeout rate. He's probably a 270 hitter with like 20 homers, 10 steals. I mean, he's like, I don't know, better than Bo Bichette. No. I fed into that. I take that back. Delete that. Don't put that in there.
Oh, I'm clipping that. I'm putting it at the beginning, the end. I'm gonna put it on the intro clip to the show on Twitter and YouTube. That's gonna be everywhere, guy. You're never escaping anytime you say a player over Bo Bichette. I'm just letting you know. That's the whole basis of my argument, and I'm just gonna feed that fire as much as I can. All right, let's talk about another guy who has turned it on, and it's good. This is a guy that you liked in preseason, I liked, and I had shares of, and it is also getting some nice position eligibility soon, and that is Sal Frelick. He is now at 3 stolen bases. He hit in 308. He's got 11 runs, 5 RBIs, 20% K rate, 8.6% walk rate. It was nice to see him get a good week going, Gray.
Yeah, no, completely. He was I wrote a sleeper post for Frelick as well. I think he was another guy in the preseason where I was like, it's interesting because it's like a guy who's a top prospect comes up and doesn't necessarily click immediately. And then the following year, people are like, who? Like, it's almost like they totally forget that like Frelick was one of those guys who, when he got called up last year, he went for like, $250 in fab. Like everyone wanted Frelick. It was so obvious he was going to be good with like, he makes great contact for a guy who has like, 70 career games and he's got like a 17% strikeout rate. He makes amazing contact. He's got good speed. Yeah, I love Frelick as well. I was shocked that he was also his the draft price for him was pretty flat. So yeah, I definitely was all in on Frelick, and I still am. I like him.
All right, great. Let's rank Frelick, Westburg, and Cowser for the listeners.
Oh, Cowser, I think, is on another level. Not just because he's hitting so well to start the year. Cowser was like a legitimate top prospect. Not that these other guys weren't necessarily. Like they were all considered, good coming up. But I think Cowser's on a different level, just maybe slightly better, I'll say at this point. So Cowser, ... Westburg, Frelick.
Okay. Let's move on to some pitchers, Gray. Cole Ragans, who I don't think either of us really have a whole lot of shares of, for not because we didn't like him, just didn't like the draft value. Well, he has 4 starts. He has 23 and a third innings. He has a 1.93 ERA, 1.2 WHIP, 29 strikeouts, 7 walks. He's got a 29.6% K rate and a 7.1% walk rate. He is everything that those who drafted him early in their drafts wanted him to be. Is he going to continue great? Do you have any buyer's remorse? Where are you at, Cole Ragans?
Or not non-buyer's
remorse. FOMO?
Yeah, FOMO. Yeah, I got FOMO. Yeah. I mean, he looks better than I expected. Absolutely. I was concerned about the command. Like, it never looked like it was totally there for me to get fully bought in at the price he was going in draft. So I was out. And honestly, if we were to redraft right now, I'd still be out for what his price was. Like, I would just, pass him over and take Cutter Crawford 150 picks later or something. Like, I would still be out on Cole Ragans if we were to redraft right this second. But he does look better than I thought he would be for command. Absolutely. I was, I was worried about the command. It looks good. Command's the kind of thing that, like, it can go sideways. Like, if his mechanics get messed up in June and he has like a bad June and July, his numbers suddenly are not going to look as good. Like, right now he looks good. I definitely feel like, he's living up to his promise for, the people who were in on his price, but I don't really have FOMO either. I don't know. It's weird. Like, I'm fine with, like, I like him. I think he looks better than I expected, but I also am like, yeah, I don't care really. Like, he doesn't, like, he's not, he's right now his record is 0-1. Obviously he can only do so much when it comes to wins, even though the Royals are a good team, but is he really, like, in a, like, having such an amazing, start to the season that I'm like, oh man, I'd totally, if I can go back in time, I would draft him in the top 60. No, I still wouldn't. I still would not draft him where he was going. But he looks good.
Yeah, he does. Do you know where he ranks currently on the play rater grade? I think this would probably surprise most people.
Jeez. I would say maybe
starting pitchers. Sorry, among starting pitchers.
Among starting pitchers, I would say maybe 10.
42.
Oh, yeah, because he has no wins.
No wins. Yeah. It's just, you can't fault him. Like, it's not his fault. He's been great.
Right.
But this was kind of.
And also, sorry not to interrupt, but also his whip is 1.2. So his whip is an elite and he has 0 wins. So, yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, I said 10. So obviously I thought he was a little bit better, but it's also not completely shocking that he's the 40th pitcher on the player rater, because he's missing no saves, obviously, no wins, and whip, which is mediocre. So he has great strikeouts. And right now his ERA is good. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's why I kind of feel like I look at my team, like the leagues I'm in, and I see Cole Ragans on teams that aren't really doing that well. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like Cutter Crawford or Cole Ragans. Like I said before, it's like pitching is available. You don't need to draft Cole Ragans in like the top, 60 overall. Anyway.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next guy, which is Bryce Miller. 3 starts, 18 1/3 inning pitch, 1.96 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, 17 K, 6 walks, 23.6% K, 8.3% walk. I mean, Bryce Miller's been very good this season. One last comment on Cole Ragans, though. He might actually be my new favorite pitcher to watch in baseball now that Strider's hurt, because it's so fun watching him throw.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that's sort of like, I feel like that's the problem with, like, sometimes that's the problem with fantasy. Like, you watch guys who are better to watch than they are for fantasy. That's a common problem, I feel like, with fantasy.
That's my problem mostly, usually.
It's a lot. I think it's a lot of people. It's not necessarily even Cole Ragans. It's across the board. You get guys, it's like, it's like Corbin Burns, who obviously is an ace, or Jose Barrios. Jose Barrios is doing much better as of right now on the player radar than Corbin Burns. It's like, it's not even really that close either. Like he's a good $8 better, Jose Barrios. But that's the thing. It's like, it's not always obvious when you're watching a guy who's actually better for fantasy. It's like, yeah, like I like Tariq Skubal too. He looks really good when he's pitching, but if he's only going 5 innings and he's not getting wins, then it's like, yeah, I mean, then I could see why Brady Singer is actually better than him on the player radar. Anyway, what were you saying, Bryce Miller?
Bryce Miller.
I got so sidetracked there.
That's okay. I let us down that path. I'll take the blame there.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Bryce Miller, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look great for as far as like his peripherals go. So he's got like, around an 8.5K per 9, around a 3 walk per 9, and a 4.06 xFIP. His BABIP is super low. Like he's getting very lucky on BABIP and left on base guys. Yeah, he looks like he's having a bad year, yet his ERA is really good. So I'd be a little bit worried about that, because at some point, they're going to come for him. That's it. And they, being the regression fairies, they're going to come for him. And you know what? You gotta let these guys come. Sometimes they're going to come. I like Bryce Miller in general. I think he's pitching above his head a little bit right now.
Yeah, I agree. I like him. His stuff is nasty. Another guy I really enjoy watching throw. But a lot of times the guys who are like really entertaining to watch throw have some control issues, because if they're just boring and they get the ball over the plate all the time, it's less entertaining for us. Let's move on to Nick Lodolo, who has made one start back from his slow start to the season after the injury. 5 2/3 innings, no earned runs, 0.35 whip, 10 Ks, and 1 walk in his start. Where does Nick Lodolo jump now that he's back up and seemingly healthy for the moment, at least?
Yeah. So Lodolo, actually, I got a son of a benched on him because I didn't know he was getting activated. So he was on my bench in a weekly league. That hurt. Oh man, that hurt. Anyway, my team's aside. Yeah, Lodolo. He's like, I feel like Lodolo is Tyler Glasnow minus 40 innings. So if we get Lodolo to throw like 85 innings, I would be so happy. I'd actually be kind of surprised if he can get to 85 innings. But if he can get to 85 innings, Lodolo can be really good for those 85 innings. He's like, Lodolo's stuff is just so nasty. He's probably like, I would say not better than like a top 60 starter, because he can't stay on the field. He's got a bum leg, so that sometimes affects his walks too, his command. So yeah, I think Lodolo could be amazing. I just don't think he's going to be able to throw that many innings, and yeah, it's not, it is what it is kind of with him. I like him though. I would just say, if you could sell him off of that insane first start, sure, go for it.
Yeah. Would you put him, I guess, definitely behind Ragans, who we've talked about, him or Bryce Miller?
Man, that's a tough one, because Bryce Miller actually probably can throw the innings. Like he's shown, or like he threw 130 plus innings last year. He's shown he's able to throw innings. Like I think Bryce Miller's ERA is going to come down, but I'd probably go Bryce Miller over Lodolo, all things being equal. But yeah, I mean, Lodolo is sexy.
Yeah, he is. And if you're in a shallow league, I could definitely see going Lodolo and just taking, your 75, 80 innings and just enjoying it for that time. And then you can go find, another guy to fill in while you wait. Let's move on to some injuries, Gray. Luis Robert Jr., hip flexor strain, 6 to 8 weeks. The manager, Chris Getz, said it's trending more towards 6 weeks, but it's 6 to 8 weeks. I feel like we have no idea. One little setbacks, it's 8 or 10 weeks. So 6 to 8 weeks for now. I don't want to say I told you so to everybody who drafted him, but I told you so.
Yeah, I know. I avoided him last year when I thought this would happen. It's like I'm a year. I didn't draft him this year either. I even though I didn't say I wasn't drafting him on purpose because he's so injury prone, but I kind of wasn't drafting him anyway because he's so injury prone. I mean, I kind of wasn't. I mean, he would have had to fall on. I think he was probably going too high. He's always, and everyone on the White Sox, like Eloy, Moncada, Louis Robert. I mean, they're all just so injury prone. It's just I don't know, man. I would say Louis Robert. The thing is with Louis Robert is he is good when he actually is playing.
Yeah, and there's no doubt in the talent.
Yeah, so if I had to say an ETA for when he's actually coming back, I'd probably say the All-Star break. And if you get that, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully he can get back in the All-Star break. I mean, we've seen him put together very solid seasons in 100 games. So if he could get that, it's still going to be useful. But it sucks that he's hurt. I mean, I don't like to root against anybody, even if he is on the White Sox. He's so talented when he can stay on the field. It just hurts. Moving on, Bobby Miller. He has right shoulder inflammation, but he's hoping to throw as soon as maybe this week or next. And also there in Dodgerland, Walker Buehler could be back sooner than later as well. So where are you at on the Bobby Miller, Walker Buehler? What do you think the rotation looks like when everybody's healthy in Dodgerland?
Next week we should talk about cold starts because I'd like to know if I should be panicked about Jordan Walker because I'm really starting to panic. Yeah, actually, so I think with Bobby Miller is probably I feel like this was kind of hey man, you're not something's wrong here. There's this feels like a phantom injury. This doesn't feel like a legitimate injury, this doesn't feel like, the precursor to surgery or losing him for the year. This feels like we're shutting you down. We have so many starters. Walker Buehler is coming back soon. We're going to slow roll you. So this way you're good for October. So we're going to take you out of the rotation for 2 or 3 weeks, just to lower your innings, get you completely right. Because obviously you don't look right right now. So we're just going to take a beat with Bobby Miller. I think that's what's going on. I don't know for sure, but that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, I'm hoping that there's nothing too serious. Right shoulder inflammation definitely could be leading to something. But as you mentioned, the Dodgers have plenty of pitchers. A lot of them are on the IL right now, but they're really not worried about making the playoffs at this point. It's just surviving and staying healthy until it's time for everybody to be back. I mean, I guess when you look at the rotation, Gray, when everybody's healthy, so maybe we say All-Star break. Do you think Bobby Miller stays in? I mean, I guess it feels wrong that he would lose a spot to anybody, but I mean, Buehler, Kershaw. I don't think we're seeing Dustin May this year, but maybe. But I mean, Bobby Miller. I guess Gavin Stone. Maybe.
I'll cut you off there. I don't think Bobby Miller's in any jeopardy of losing a rotation spot. Assuming he's healthy, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I don't, because like at some point, they're gonna lose someone else. I mean, Glasnow, Gavin Stone, James Paxton. Like, I'm not trying to put the Kavorka on people, but I mean, these guys aren't going to stay healthy all year.
All right. Moving over to speaking of guys who can't stay healthy, Carlos Correa, mid-right intercostal strain. No timetable yet for that. But on the positive news there, Yohan Duran is throwing bullpen sessions and could be back as soon as this week.
Nice.
Yeah,
and also it gives I think it gives Baldelli a reason to play Kyle Farmer too, who he seems to love Kyle Farmer, man. I don't know what it is about like Baldelli and Kyle Farmer. I don't know. Baldelli, like when he was a teenager, he dreamt of being a farmer and he's like, now's my chance. I don't know. But he plays Kyle Farmer more than anyone else has ever played Kyle Farmer in the history of Kyle Farmer. So and now he's actually hitting him cleanup, which is, it's a choice. I don't know if it's a choice I would make necessarily. He's benching Kirilloff and playing Kyle Farmer at cleanup. Yeah, okay. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, that's fun. But it's Kyle Farmer, Willie Castro. I think those are the two primary beneficiaries of this injury. But yeah, that's pretty much it right there. Jake Berger, oblique issue, not believed to be serious. So we'll just monitor that and see if anything comes of that. Cody Bradford, just an unfortunate timing. We talked about him last week. Back issue after such a great start this season. He's heading to the IL. We're just waiting for Cody Bradford to come back, and you're not letting him go, are you, Gray?
No. Assuming you have room to hold on to him. Yeah, I would hold on to him. He looked good in his first couple starts, and I would hold on.
All right, and it looks like it's Andrew Heaney or Michael Lorenzen kind of filling in there, but they got enough veterans in Texas to fill another full ugly rotation, so it should be okay.
Right? Yeah.
Nolan Schnell with my favorite of the injury labels to Sabe, and maybe my least favorite if I had to take any of these injuries, Gray, and that is a testicular contusion. It doesn't sound like it's serious, but if you're making lineup decisions, I don't think he's in this week.
Yeah, there's the testicular contusion, testicular torsion, and testicular rupture. So there's the three testicular injuries that are known to man. I'm a doctor. And you see when you go into the doctor's office, they have guys know this. Women who are listening may not know this, but if you go into a doctor's office as a guy, you'll on the wall of the testes wall, it has a poster of a plum, and it's got different shades of red for the contusion, the torsion, and the rupture. That's like the terrorist warning back after 9/11. Remember the yellow, the orange, the red? That's what it looks like in the doctor's office with the plums.
And if you can't tell yet, Gray is a hypochondriac who can't stay out of medical facilities and has examined every single medical poster has ever been created by any doctor or marketing person.
Gray. Thank you for coming in. Could you point on the plums where it's bothering you?
Gray's coming in with his own medical posters. He's like, I saw this other poster in this other doctor's office. Can you make sure that this is okay? I didn't trust that doctor. You've
removed a sign from the produce section of the supermarket for grapes, and you've crossed off the word grapes, and you've added balls. Why are you bringing this into the doctor's office, sir?
There is a local Whole
I wanna
Foods.
show you.
No
I wanna
idea.
show
They have
you.
no idea their grapes sitting around.
I got grape signs. I got a grape sign in my trunk just in case I have to show someone where it hurts.
All right, Greg. Christian Yelich has back issues. He may be heading to the IL. You may hear that by the time this podcast comes out. I don't know if there's really anything to do about Christian Yelich heading to the IL other than it might move Frelick back to the outfield, but I think Frelick is staying where he is. So I don't know. There's a whole lot to do here, Greg.
Yeah. Well, I think in NL only, it helps Blake Perkins, but I don't think he's really on. He's not on mixed league radars yet, so hold off there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Let's move over to the bullpens, Gray. Jordan Romano, he could be back this week, so just enjoy Chad Green while you can. It sounds like there's not going to be any hesitation to put Romano back into his closer role.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kirby Yates, he's in as closer for Texas. Jose Leclerc moving to low average places in the game or low leverage in the game for now. Do you think Leclerc is worth hanging on to, Gray, or are you just grabbing Yates and cutting Leclerc?
No, I feel like Leclerc is taking the same route as Alex Lang did earlier in the year. I don't see Leclerc making his way back into high leverage situations. Maybe in a couple months, or maybe in a couple weeks, depending on how Yates or Robertson looks. If Yates or Robertson does poorly and Leclerc does well in the 6th or 7th inning, then maybe Leclerc gets the job again, down the road. But it's going to take some time before Leclerc is trusted again.
So if the 134 people in front of him all die mysteriously, he could be king. Got it.
Are we looking at the succession chart for the king?
That's exactly where we're at. I think the Texas Rangers, 5th closer is somewhere around 134th. I'm not sure. We'll have to examine that chart a little bit more in depth. Mason Miller.
By the way, no, sorry, but Suzuki is going to the IL. So that just came out as we were recording. So anyway,
yeah, that's sad. His MVP campaign is off to a not great start now after having to go on the IL. Unfortunately, Mason Miller, he's really good, and the A's are finally acknowledging that he's really good.
Yeah, the A's actually look better than the Giants. So there's that.
They look better than a lot of teams right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, better than the Marlins too, yeah.
Better than the White Sox, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Sorry, yes. Except for Nick Nastrini, he looks really good. Can I show you where on my grape sign he activates? Anyway,
nobody wants to see that grape. We'll put your grape sign away. Don't pull out the grapes either. That's not okay. We're on YouTube. This is not OnlyFans, Gray. That's your other account. And speaking of nobody wants to see, nobody in Milwaukee wants to be the closer, Gray. Everybody just is awful.
Yeah, no, I know. It's surprising too, because when Devin Williams went down, I had the feeling that it was going to be a bunch of these guys were going to look so good. It was just going to be who's going to take the job, and they're all going to be so good. But it's actually not worked out that way at all. In my NL only league, I picked up Pagaro. Elvis Pagaro. He's been the one really good guy. I would say I don't say that in order to activate the SAGNOF people out there for mixed leagues. I think he's still pretty far down the chart. I would say probably Uribe or maybe Amps.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the two they would like to, but as you mentioned, Figueroa's really the only one even remotely doing his job in that bullpen. So, I mean, I would be surprised if he's gets a look within the next couple weeks if Uribe and Payams both have another blow up over that time, because they've been real bad in Milwaukee at the reliever position outside of a couple of guys, including Figueroa. Let's move on to waivers. Gray gives the people some names, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, cool. So Michael Bush, man. Geez, talking about grapes. Michael Bush looks really good for the Cubs. I take back all the things I said about how the Dodgers never give away anyone good, even though they gave away Yordan Alvarez and O'Neal Cruz, which I heard about in the comments. Michael Bush looks great. I actually tried to get him in a 12-team mixed league, and I was like 10 minutes too slow. Someone else got him, I think. Right? I think Laura actually picked him up right before I got to him.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he looks great. Jerickson Profar may be irrelevant to some people, but he could be relevant for us. He looks like he's, he got hot. It never hurts to have like, a guy. Whoa. I swung at a fly and I knocked over my microphone. Sorry, people. Anyway, Jerickson Profar, it doesn't hurt to have like, someone, talk smack and get a guy going. Profar looks like he got going this weekend in Los Angeles. I mentioned Blake Perkins earlier, filling in for Yelich. He has been hot. We mentioned Westburg and Kauser, both guys who absolutely should be rostered by this point. We also mentioned Turang. If you need steals, there's no reason why you shouldn't grab him. And Edward Olivares looks good and then gets benched for 4 days. So I don't know, man. I like Edward Olivares a lot. He never plays back-to-back games. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, I have Olivares in leagues, and I can't ever put him in my lineup, even though he's good. He doesn't play. You never know when he's going to play. Just need him to get in the lineup, and I'm sure he'll be good. I'm positive, Gray. On the pitching side, Javier Assad has been good to start the season. He gets Miami this week. Ryan Feltner at Philadelphia. Steven Matz at Oakland. Clark Schmidt versus Tampa Bay. Edward Cabrera returns versus San Francisco and maybe gets a second start at the Cubs. JP Spears versus St. Louis. Dane Dunning, who had the strike zone that benefited off of Angel Hernandez's gigantic strike zone. He gets to go at Detroit. Paul Blackburn versus St. Louis, and Michael Wacha at the White Sox. If you're looking for streamers, you can also go out to razzball.com. Check out Rudy's weekly projections. That goes for hitters and pitchers. You can look at the matchups for hitters. You can look at them for pitchers. Everything is out there for you. If you have any other questions, comments, come out to find us on Twitter. I'm at RazBeaton. Gray is the owner of the @Razzball account. Find us on youtube.com/Razzball Fantasy. Leave comments there. Like, review, subscribe, all of that, wherever you watch us, listen to us. And until next time, Greg, good luck, and I'll talk to you later, bud.
All right, Lates.